Hello everyone! In this video, I will teach you how to animate photos like these. I will take this photo. This is my grandfather, Mansoor Babai, a war veteran. You might take a different photo, perhaps from your family archive, and together we will bring it to life. All we will need is your mobile phone and a Telegram bot. That's it, nothing else is needed. What will this animation look like? Yes, indeed, it looks quite incredible. And I definitely have something to share with you today because I have already animated quite a large number of photos. I animated my family photo archives and then also made a masterclass on them. Recently, I animated 100 military photos, forgotten photos from World War II. And perhaps you are watching the masterclass after having watched this long video. But if you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend you do so. Let me just show you a couple of frames. Look. This video will be divided into 4 parts. In the first part, I will show you step by step where to click, what to press, what to enter, so that your family photo comes to life. We will go through it thoroughly from start to finish. In previous masterclasses that I showed, people said, you stretch it out to 40 minutes, it's just filler, and it could have been condensed into 5 minutes. On one hand, yes, I agree, but on the other hand, just clicking isn't the right approach. It's necessary to provide more context, explain why you need to click, for example, with what force to click, which prompt to enter, and which not to enter. And of course, you can't fit all that into 5 minutes. But generally, animating a photo happens quite quickly. I place the main block right at the very beginning. Therefore, please refer to the timestamps located below this video. And it will be convenient for you to watch and select the topic you need. So if you already know something, for example, if you know how to animate photos and are interested in more details, you can move on to the second block. And in the second part, I will share my observations that I encountered while animating these 100 photos. As you understand, I have actually animated far more photos. I just included in this video those that I believe turned out great, interesting, and ones I am not ashamed of. But I animated, of course, many more photos because I was animating them everywhere. I animated them at home when I had 5 free minutes while walking in parks, sitting in cafes. Whenever I had a free moment, I could easily animate right on my mobile phone. All the difficulties I encountered, I made sure to note them down because I understood that I would most likely be creating such a masterclass. I carefully collected all these notes. And today, I will share them with you as well. I will tell you about some life hacks to bypass, for example, certain restrictions from neural networks. Why do they prohibit animation and what needs to be done to bypass this restriction? In the third part, I will show you the photos that didn't turn out well for me. Well, they did turn out, the animations, but they are, to put it mildly, quite cringeworthy. But I will show you what can happen if you do it incorrectly. And in the fourth part, I will share with you what you can actually do with all this after you have learned to animate a photo. I will show you how much people are already earning from animating, what products can be created from this, who to sell to and who not to sell to. And also, in this video, I will be giving away credits for directly animating these photos. I think it will be quite a lot of credits. It will be thousands of credits. So watch this video carefully. And a little later, I will explain in more detail the conditions of the contest and what you need to do to participate. This masterclass will be absolutely free for you on my Oppo channel on YouTube, as well as on VKontakte and Yandex. Zen. In general, my name is Gary Azad, and I study the topic of digital avatars. I don't just study it, I also make money from it. And we are also creating a product. If you don't know what digital avatars are, well, for example, we film a person and then they can say anything according to a specific script. We have a segment on both YouTube and VKontakte called Jajtschnits. Every week we cover the most interesting news, the 10 most interesting news items from the world of neural networks and technology. All of this is presented in an engaging video digest format. And the unique aspect of it is that I don't search for ideas, don't appear in it, don't come up with the script, don't upload, and don't edit. My small team does all of that. So if you're also interested in this topic and want to learn how to create digital twins and earn from it, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If it's more convenient for you to watch on YouTube, then watch on YouTube. If it's convenient to watch on VKontakte, then watch on VKontakte. And be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel. There, I show all the behind the scenes and everything that can't be shown here. That's all. Like this video, grab some tea. I've prepared some tea for myself too. It will be interesting. So to start animating photos, the first thing you need to do is launch the bot in your Telegram. The link to this bot, make sure not to confuse it with other bots, with similar bots, to avoid mistakes. The link will be in the description of this video. I think I'll place it at the very top, so you understand. We will be working within this bot. We won't be using anything else. And look, everything I will show you, I will demonstrate on my laptop. That is the desktop version of Telegram. But everything I show will work exactly the same way on the mobile version. Moreover, I'll tell you, even right now, animations are happening, right? I did almost all my animations on the mobile version. I even find it more convenient to work on the mobile version. But I will show you using the desktop version as an example, because it's inconvenient to sit and show you on the mobile version. In this case, there's screen capture. Everything will be spacious and wide, and you'll understand exactly where to click. But all the functionality is absolutely identical in both the mobile and desktop versions. Look, there are two reasons why I like working with this bot. Firstly, all the coolest neural networks available are gathered within this one bot. Well, the guys have gathered them into one bot, and you don't need to register with separate neural networks like Sora, Kling, Minimx, Runway, Luma, Midjourney, DALL-E, ChatGPT, Claudia, or any other LLM models. This is incredibly convenient. You just click on the link once, press the Start button, and you automatically get access to all the neural networks. Well, that's the first cool thing that saves a huge amount of time. The second cool thing is that you don't need to have any foreign cards if you want to animate a lot of photos, or if you want to do it regularly, you can simply use the same SBP. For example, if you are from Russia, you can use a Russian card to purchase credits, or if you are from Europe, you can buy everything in the same way. But I'll talk about this in more detail a little later. By the way, thirdly, I just realized that this mobility is really great. When you're just walking in the park or something, you have a free moment and you can just, do something useful, right? That is, you can, well, not just sit there and zone out watching some reels, but you can animate photos, because by animating such photos, yes, on one hand, you can surprise your relatives, and on the other hand, you can do it on commission and earn money. And thirdly, you can simply animate cool videos and upload them to your social networks, building your audience and gathering a large number of followers. Because my reels, which I animated, also gain quite a large number of views with animated photos. They get thousands, tens of thousands of views. And doing this, in principle, is actually not difficult. And what I'm going to show you now is just one particular theme. Yes, military. But imagine the vast number of themes for holidays, for birthdays. I mean, for example, the birthdays of some famous people. You make a cool video in advance. You know that everyone will be writing about it, talking about it, and it will trend on the right day. This is a very cool strategy. So let's go. Look, I'm launching it now on another one of my Telegram accounts, because on my main account, all the verification is already completed. But I think there won't be any surprises here. So we click Start, and we are greeted by a certain organizational moment. In which language? I choose Russian. It greets us with some kind of video, some sort of instruction, knowledge base, all the beauty. Look, what are we interested in? We are primarily interested in this panel. This panel, let's go through it in more detail now. Look, we'll analyze the profile. Closer to the end. What do we have here? It says GPT with Claudia Gemini here. So when we click here, there will be different models related to LLM, like ChatGPT, Claudia, and others. If we click here on everything related to neural networks that create music is here. If we click here, we have everything related to neural networks that create images. If we click here, everything related to neural networks that create videos is here. And then there's also help and a knowledge base here. So look, regarding help, they have their own support, which is also very great, which responds quickly, which is very convenient. But we won't get distracted by that right now. We already have an enormous program recorded. I'm afraid the video might already end up being almost an hour long. Therefore, I will only talk about the most essential things to keep you engaged. We will be working in this tab, which is called Video of the Future. Let me take you through this now. Here we have different neural networks, and the team is constantly evolving. I don't know when you will be watching this video, but a new neural network has just emerged. It's called Higgsfield. We will also talk about it today. But today we will be working with an equally wonderful program called Kling. Look, here we have Runway, Sora, Minimx, Topaz, Google Veo, Pico, Luma Dream Machine. Well, in general, a bunch of other neural networks. I already had a masterclass. It will appear right here or here. I always get confused. And there, I show in more detail how each neural network works. And in that same video, I say, guys, if you have a lot of time, you can sit and explore on your own. But if you don't have time to delve into the details, use my experience and work in Kling 2.0. Now it's called 2.0. Before it was 1.5, 1.6. In general, all the videos in the clip 100 animated photos were animated in Kling 1.0. We'll talk a bit more about the cost of the animation itself, but just so you understand, and now Kling 2.0 has already been released. Your animations might be even better. We'll delve into Kling a bit later. It's not that important right now. Let's go back to the main menu, and here we have the profile. When you tap on the profile, yes, you'll have 5 welcome credits when you use my link. And here is the community. What's the catch? The catch is that if you subscribe to their community, also on Telegram, there's a separate channel. You will automatically receive an additional 5 credits every day. This is also very convenient. This is for those who don't want to pay anything at all. But for those who want to animate photos in quite a large volume and do it well, naturally you'll need to purchase. What do you need to do to make a purchase, and how much does it cost? Look, we go here. It's called subscription. Now, there have been changes. In my previous masterclass, how was it here within this window? We could buy everything. Now, their policy has changed. Well, not theirs. I think Telegram's policy has changed. Now, in Telegram, you can only pay for services directly with Telegram stars. We will encounter this together now. That's why, by the way, I'm also showing it through my, second account in Telegram, because those who have already launched this Telegram bot before can continue to purchase credits in the old way within this Telegram application. But if you have never launched this Syntx application, you will have to work under the new rules. So there's nothing complicated about it. You just need to show it once. So look, we go here, subscription, and we are greeted with different plans. You purchase plans, or you can buy tokens separately. So look, which plan to choose? Personally, I use the VIP plan myself. So why? Well, I'm still in my new account. Why do I use it? Because here, for the subscription price I pay, I get more credits. And most importantly, I get even greater access to various neural networks. This bot has about 70 neural networks, at the time of recording this video. To not be all talk, let me switch to my main account and show you how it looks. So yes, look, I've now switched to my main channel. You see, yes, I have a VIP plan, and I currently have 2,630 credits in my balance. This is what the subscription looks like. So I've returned to my free account now. If you're asking me, then probably you don't need VIP right away. Well, take for example, I think Pro might be the most optimal for you. You will get 680 tokens for it. Look at how much it costs to animate one photo. But now they've added, in general, Kling 2.0, which is even more expensive. But we'll talk about that too in a moment. This is just a small spoiler for now. I haven't noticed a drastic significant difference, especially for animating photos yet. So if we focus on Kling 1.6, then on average, it's about 20 credits. And 20 credits, more or less, is roughly around either 50 rubles or $0.5, just so you have an idea. So you will receive 680 credits when you pay this amount. In my opinion, this is the most optimal option. So look, we click here on buy. And look, the only payment method here is stars. Previously, you could pay with a bank card directly here and with cryptocurrency. And it was really convenient. By the way, it's very convenient here. You can transfer credits via a Telegram account. By the way, I will use exactly this same mechanic when I conduct a giveaway of credits for animating photos. I will therefore enter the winner's accounts here, and you will immediately receive the required amount of credits. But how much and what needs to be done, I'll tell you a bit later. Look, here directly, if you are going to pay with a star, you can check it yourself, but how does it work? First, you buy these stars within Telegram. It's their kind of thing, and then you can pay with these stars. But it turns out to be significantly more expensive. So for example, if you buy a plan for 1,600 something, then by purchasing through stars, you will end up paying around 2,700 in rubles. In general, it turns out to be very expensive. So what do? You press payment issues. It tells you open on the Syntx AI website. They direct you to their official website. You say, yes, okay, open. A website like this opens for you. And here you click on the Telegram icon. Then it says, enter your phone number. Next it says, enter the phone number your Telegram account is registered to. Well, my new account is registered to a Kazakhstani number. I press next. I receive a notification here, but you will receive your notification on the mobile version. I press accept. Here you get a notification to share as well. You press accept. And you enter your personal account where you have credits. You can choose a plan, or you can purchase credits separately. Next, you press refresh here, and note that essentially all the same plans are available as in the mobile app. Here it is, our PRO plan, which I generally recommended as the most optimal. And pay attention to the crossed out numbers. It's clear that on one hand, it's marketing, but on the other hand, it's indeed true. You would spend more if you paid for each service separately. That is, if you want to create photos separately, create music, and so on, you would have to spend around 66,000 rubles to set up accounts everywhere and purchase some optimal minimum subscriptions to do something. Within this same bot, it's convenient that you start BOA and, for example, top up with 680 tokens, for instance, for 1,400 rubles. You can either spend all of them, for example, on animating photos, or part on animating photos, part, for instance, on photo restoration, or part on animating photos, part on generating images, or, for example, composing music, or say SLL models. There is freedom of choice here, which is very convenient. Otherwise, you would have to register with different neural networks and spend a lot of money there. Therefore, you click Buy, and here the window appears that is available for those who have already launched with this bot before. But if you are launching it for the first time, you will be able to get such a selection only through their website. Next, here, for example, you select SPB, and look, yes, be attentive. That is, choose, for example, for a month. And look here, the final price is already 1,600 rubles. Pay close attention to what you are directly paying for, because when it comes to payment, right now we will be redirected. And most likely, an additional percentage will be added for the service that collects the fees. We will pay now. And in fact, we will calculate how much we actually paid and how much one credit for animating a photo really costs. Let's take a look together now. Click Proceed to Payment. Please allow the pop-up for this site, blah, blah, blah. We get this kind of code. When you work in the mobile version, everything will be within the mobile version. Here, I'm showing it through the desktop first, so it's easier for you to understand. It says, to make a payment, scan the code in the bank's mobile app using the phone's standard camera. Let me then immediately choose the mobile bank I need, enter it, and then I'll do the scanning there. So for example, look, I go into my mobile bank, Tinkoff Bank, and here we have scan. Well, that's how it usually works. Scan. A QR code appears, and I point at it. Aha, here it shows us something like pay 1,690 rubles. Oh no, look, it seems like it didn't add anything more. Well, okay, fine. I press pay. I press pay. That's it. 1,690 rubles were deducted from me, and I topped it up, it turns out, on my secondary account. I, of course, made a bit of a mistake. Well, okay, now I have two paid accounts. Okay, so I went into the profile. Yes, look, now I have 685 tokens. There were 5 tokens, 680 tokens. Now let's calculate together. We divide 1,690 rubles by 680. This means we get, so one token is 2.5 rubles. That's the price of one token. On average, no, well, we'll figure it out further. I'll show you about 21 a day, 21 credits are used for animating photos. So we multiply by 21. Animating one photo comes out to, yes, 50 rubles. Well, it can be more expensive. But honestly, I haven't seen yet why it needs to be more expensive. In total, 50 rubles to animate a photo. There are also some nuances because, well, to be honest, out of 10 photos, I managed to animate only 8. For some reason, with 2 of them, it either doesn't animate or animates well, not as it should. Overall, I'm not satisfied with the result. But let's say if I take a sample, I animated 100 photos. On average, yes, it animates about 8 photos properly. 2 end up being defective. Well, on the other hand, I think in any production process, this is, well, it's normal. Defects happen. You just need to account for it in the production process. I'm not very strong in mathematics with these coefficients. Those who are good at math, if, for example, you take 50 rubles per photo for animation with a coefficient where 8 turn out well, and 2, not so much, then calculate the average cost of animating photos. I don't know, but this is not a contest. So, okay, look, we have an account, and here we can top up. And when we need to top up, we know that it should be done through the personal account. We click here to go back, return to the chatbot. We will click Allow. So we have returned to our chatbot. We go here again into the profile and take a look. Yes, we see that we now have the Pro plan, which is given for a month. Today is April 26th, and it will be active until May 26th. 680 credits. So guys, great. We've sorted out the organizational details. Now we can focus directly on creativity. Yes, I will now show you how to create such wonderful animations. Look how cool it is. So people are running, a soldier is lying down, and he's still breathing. I'll explain how to write such prompts. But before writing such prompts and creating everything, the most important thing is to take a photograph and prepare it. What is the huge mistake people make when animating photos? They prepare the wrong file. What is wrong with it? Let's, for example, analyze a photograph. Well, he was showing a publicly accessible channel accordingly. So naturally, I can show it too, since everyone has seen it. But what exactly is wrong here? That is, a person sends a photograph for me to help animate it. Well, you understand, right, that working with this is very difficult. I mean, there's some kind of tile lying around, something is upside down, and the photo itself is not very well lit. So, what can you get in the end? Well, you can get a very poor result. So, let me explain. Ideally, you should take your photograph, place it under a scanner, and scan it at the largest possible size. That's the ideal way. But not many people do this. For example, when I animated all my photographs, including those of my relatives up, I made a big video. My photographs, all of my relatives' photographs, they are digitized. Yes, I prepared in advance. I understand that the world is not perfect, and people are not always ready to go to the scanner. For example, it's not very convenient for me right now to go to the scanner and so on. And so I understand. I have one photo, what can be done? But let's go hardcore with this. We'll just take a picture of our photo. In principle, that's also possible. Let me show you how I'll do it right now. I'll turn the camera so you can see, yes, so you understand what we're going to work with. We take our photo, we take our mobile phone. The most important thing is to make sure it's bright. It's bright. And for example, when you aim, make sure no shadow falls here. Yes, to reduce glare. There, we took the photo. That's it. We took the photo. I'm showing everything like this on purpose, so it's all genuine. On your mobile phone, of course, you have all these options to crop, rotate, and so on. But now I will transfer this photo here to the desktop to show you as well. And so, look, the first thing is, it's in Higgsfield format. And the Higgsfield format is some kind of live photo on iPhone. It won't be recognized by the chatbot. Most likely you have some special services on your mobile phone or desktop that can convert it. But if you don't know how to do this, it's very simple. You type in the browser, type HEIC, for example, or whatever other format your device uses, to PNG, to JPEG. We are interested in to JPEG. The first one that comes up, but I've already tested it, it basically works. In principle, most likely all other converters are fine too, but I just take the first one that comes up. We select Choose Image, upload this photo here. Yes, that's how it works. We uploaded Higg, and here is the button, Convert to JPEG. By the way, you can also crop the image, compress the image, rotate the image in the same way. In principle, I could even do all of this here. Okay, I've set what I need to crop the image. Oh, well, download the image. If you want to hide something, put it in the most visible place. Here I have to download the image. Oh, it even downloads automatically, right? Well, okay, we have prepared the photo. So let's do it again. We are returning to our bot. We are in the main menu, and here we select Future Video. We enter Future Video, and here we select Kling 2.0. So we select Kling here, and it tells us animate images, upload a starting frame, or send a text task in a convenient language. Blah, blah, blah. Rates range from 6 to 118 credits. Now I will explain what this means. What are we doing? We take and upload the photo here. We can upload it here either quickly or without compression. But, you know, through trial and error, I realized that it doesn't really matter. The main thing is to make sure the photo is in JPEG format, and preferably does not exceed 5 megabytes. Because, I don't know, maybe they fixed it, but it used to be that if I uploaded, for example, 15 megabytes in some TIFF format, yes, especially TIFF, which I think is a scanner format, the bot would hang, but it's not a big deal. So I would write to their support service, they have a support service there, and within 30 minutes they would fix everything for me, saying everything is okay. And they would say, like, hey, it's better to upload in JPEG format. So if you don't want to waste time, just upload in JPEG format and preferably no more than 5 megabytes. I upload, for example, using a quick method. Now we are interested in this button, Configure. We go in here. Don't be alarmed. Let's quickly comment on what's here. So the first window is called Your Request Neural Network. Here we will write what exactly we want to see. This is where the prompt is entered, right? Well, it's like a kind of specification, what we want to get as a result. This is where your negative prompt is entered, what you don't want to see. I'll also explain later whether you need to write it or not, and if so, what to write. This is called the creativity priority slider. If you turn it up here, for example, the neural network will do some very unconventional creative things. But the information present there, for example, the faces that are there, in my opinion, are too creative. But again, it all depends on the task. It all depends on your creative intent. If you need to create something very creative at that exact second, at the right moment, right? Like, I don't know, a person's dream, for example, right? Then maybe you can manage to get some really unconventional solutions from the neural network regarding animation. In the opposite direction, however, if you adjust it this way, the neural network tries its best to preserve everything as it is in the photo and adds minimal movement. From my work experience, I realized that the most optimal option is to keep it balanced so that the neural network provides a bit of creativity, while also maintaining the consistency of faces and other elements. That is, the resemblance to what is directly in the original photograph. Next, mode. Here you can choose. Here you can select either standard or professional. But here you can choose, look, it shows Kling 1.0. When I was working and animating the same photographs, for example, 100 military photos from World War II, this Kling 2.0 didn't exist at all. That is, it appeared right at the very end. Therefore, all my animations, the ones that are now on the internet, are in Kling 1.6. In principle, it looks pretty good. What is the difference between standard and professional? I won't dwell on this for too long now, but if you, for example, select standard, the animation quality is slightly worse. And most importantly, the file you will receive, for example, will appear as 700 pi by 500 pixels. When you select professional, it is, for example, already HD or full HD, like 1080 pixels by 1980 pixels. It is already, for example, like full HD. It provides better quality. And plus, the animation itself is more interesting, with better detailing. Definitely always choose professional no matter what you are working on. I won't speak about Kling 2.0. Perhaps there is something I haven't recognized yet. At the moment, as of today, it seems to me that Kling 1.6 professional is the best price-quality ratio. Well, regarding the animation, that's why we will be working with it. But later in my checklist within this video, there are also examples that I will be showing. So I animated, meaning in the mode there, Kling 1.6, Kling 2.0, professional, non-professional. And I will also be showing how Higgsfield is animated. But now I am showing you directly what you can quickly animate. Moving on, here there is also duration. You can choose a duration of 5 seconds, or you can choose a duration of 10 seconds for the animation. And note, if you choose 10 seconds, it will add another 21 to the existing 21. In total, the animation becomes 42. Do you need it or not? That's the question. For animating all my photos, I only used the 10-second animation a couple of times, once to test how it works, and the second time to actually start a video with it. My animation video of my relatives starts with the city of Kazan, as I am originally from Kazan. There is a huge, beautiful panorama with yachts, the Soviet era, and people on the beach. I found a very cool and rare photograph. I decided to spend on it, to animate it for 10 seconds. It was kind of a prologue. And if you are creating some kind of prologue in your film, then why not? You can, in principle, okay, have 10 seconds for a really long flyover. But if, for example, it's just, well, an animation, then in my opinion, 5 seconds is more than enough. Moreover, I will probably try not to forget to show within this masterclass that you can slightly slow down the video, slow down the already animated part, and in doing so, you will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The first bird is that you will get not 5 seconds, but for example, 7 to 8 seconds. And the second, which is great, is that when the animation occurs, in my opinion, the animation becomes too smooth. It becomes smooth because of the large number of frames. The more frames there are, the smoother the image becomes. When we talk about retro photographs, when we talk about, say, the past, especially old videos, that is, see, cameras back then didn't record like that. They recorded with fewer frames. Accordingly, okay, when you look at the frames, it feels a bit choppy. And this gives its own authenticity, and it provides a kind of naturalness. So when you, for example, animate 5 seconds and stretch it to, say, 7 seconds, you get a longer duration. And most importantly, you add that magic of old filming, as if it's slightly choppy. Therefore, also use the functionality and take it into account when creating the film. Regarding the functionality, I kind of explained what is located here. Basically, this is the functionality. So we have already been sitting here for a huge amount of time, and I'm explaining to you, well, it's clear that this needs to be done only once, like registering, buying some credits, but the actual animation happens here. You drop the prompt here, press generate video. That's it. It happens quite quickly. Now, what exactly should you write here? Well, in my opinion, this is actually the most important creative part. It is located in this window. A lot depends on what exactly you want to achieve. For example, I want my Baba to come to life now, right? He stands up, and by that time he was already old. It was difficult for him to walk. I want him to stand up and sort of give a military salute, right? That's my idea. I want it to turn out like that. Now the question is how to do it. What I want to achieve can be entered here. Here is a fairly simple photograph. If you've seen my works with large group photos, like people dancing or military battles or something else, you want the prompt to be more detailed, right? Especially when it comes to nature, for example. Let me show you, for example, some examples of prompts that I have written. Here, for instance, yes, people are swimming. The camera slowly glides over the water, approaching two boats. They are leisurely rowing with oars. Each movement is smooth, blah, blah, blah. Ahead, a dense fog spreads over the river, slowly approaching, and so on. You see, I have quite detailed prompts. Or let's say here, the camera smoothly moves forward, approaching a group of people against the backdrop of a large airplane. And here, the propellers slowly rotate, creating a light breeze that rustles the clothing. If we go here, yes, you see, yes, the wind really rustles the clothing. And where's the magic? The magic is that you influence what should be there. But look, here's the thing. Such large texts, yes, are quite, in my opinion, difficult to write, especially if we are doing some kind of assembly line work. Well, if, you're doing one photo animation, then that's fine. But if, for example, I sat and came up with something for each photo, like for 100 photos, all these prompts, first of all, I don't have that much creative imagination. And secondly, it's insanely difficult to sit there and write all that. So how did I work? I used ChatGPT, used a neural network, and the official app. But why is it needed? What is it needed for? That's a whole separate story. I won't dwell on that right now. So I'll just say that, of course, I use it. I definitely pay for it in the end. Moreover, I pay for another corporate account, which I expanded for my team. People can log in, and I believe it's absolutely necessary for everyone to use ChatGPT or an equivalent. But in my opinion, ChatGPT is currently the best option. And definitely the paid version, because it has a very extensive functionality. But we won't dwell on that right now. How did I work? I would open, for example, ChatGPT. Yes, here I am opening it now. I'm demonstrating it now using a desktop example. But all the real activations I do in the mobile app. Moreover, for instance, when I lie down in the bath, right? I love to lie in the bath. And I have two options. Either sit and zone out, for example, watch some videos, reels, right? Or, for example, I might have already, for instance, put some photos, like 10 to 15 in a folder or favorites in Telegram, where you can send things to yourself. I understand that I'll lie in the bath, enjoy myself, and start animating. I did all of this from my mobile phone and through an app, or even using voice. Look, this is how it works. I upload a photo. This is how I upload a photo. And then I continue on my mobile phone. I was just lying in the bath, and it doesn't have to be in the bath, maybe. That's a bad example. I also sat in the park and on the playground with my daughter. So she was playing, I was sitting simultaneously listening. I was listening to some podcast and animating this photo. What do I want? I'm no longer writing with a pen. I just dictate with my voice. Please write a prompt. I see here that the camera very smoothly, so to speak, shifts slightly to a wide shot. So I want the man sitting in the center, the man in the frame, to slowly stand up, straight and proudly, yes, by salute, right? And then the camera very smoothly, no, I don't want the camera to move away. I want it to just smoothly rise as the person stands up from the chair, right? And then it slowly, slightly starts moving towards him, but not too much. Write me a prompt for animation like that. Then I'll insert this prompt into the neural network. That's where I finish speaking. Actually, I talked a lot. I usually speak less and more briefly. Now I press OK here, and it will write the prompt for me now. Here it writes, a black and white photograph of an elderly man. I didn't say he was elderly, did I? In formal attire. I didn't say he was he already saw all of this himself. With medals on his chest, I didn't mention medals. It analyzed that there are medals there. So here's what I want to say. I want to say that when I'm doing this in a stream, yes, well, 100 photos is, in my opinion, a stream. I just uploaded the photos and said, yeah, here, some fighters are fighting, some are running forward, and everything is okay. And it kind of understands my main general idea, I mean ChatGPT. And then it analyzes the photo. It sees that there is grass there. It sees that, there are wounded soldiers lying there. It has already scanned the photo itself and incorporates it into the prompt. It's incredibly convenient. It speeds things up, but this prompt, I don't know. I would have spent half an hour writing it myself. Then, naturally, the question arises, what if I don't have ChatGPT? If a second has passed for you, then a whole day has passed for me. And not the easiest day, actually. Look, to avoid cluttering our masterclass right now, I won't delve into this topic. Let's not get distracted for now. Let's move on. I'm just making notes so that you understand. My Telegram will look different now. Because initially, when I was showing how to purchase, yes, this plan, I was demonstrating it using the Telegram app from the App Store. But in general, it stopped working for me. I don't understand why. Eventually, after trial and error, I realized that I could try downloading the app from the official Telegram website. Everything started working well. Yes, visually it looks slightly different in design, but not significantly. That is, all the windows are the same. I didn't come up with this on my own. I was advised by support, Syntx support, the same Syntx bot. This once again shows that the guys work quite efficiently and quickly. They know all our issues. The issues of people who work with neural networks, and they already have a lot of answers prepared. So, if you have any questions, you're welcome to write directly to the Syntx bot. They respond very quickly and efficiently. Guys, in this video, probably only two things remain unchanged. My t-shirt and the persistence apparently passed down to me from my grandfather. I recorded for another 3 hours all after this and realized after 3 hours that my screen live Masolet didn't record. Honestly, I don't know why this happened. It's a mystery. Something happens every time. As they say, a film is born in the editing room. If for you only about 5 seconds have passed, for me, a week has gone by during which I managed to get sick, lie in bed, shave, get a haircut, and with renewed energy, tackle this masterclass. Okay, let's leave the lyrical thoughts and reflections on why this happens and how to overcome it for the end. I will definitely share this with you. And we will continue our masterclass. We left off where I showed how I upload a photo, for example, into ChatGPT, and use voice to give a certain direction. Yes, what kind of prompt for animation should result. This functionality is also available in the free version. It's not necessary to have a paid version. Moreover, now, even the free version has deep research. Deep research is an in-depth search. It's a very cool feature too. When ChatGPT doesn't give you an answer immediately, not instantly, but sometimes thinks for, say, half an hour or an hour. But these are really well-developed questions, especially everything that needs to be found on the internet. It searches much better than, for example, search engines, like Google or Yandex. That is, it finds such files, such context, such records, such videos that ordinary search engines don't even provide. And for example, YouTube, it doesn't give recommendations. There you go. This works especially well with news. So let's get started with bringing it to life. We go into our Syntx bot, and here we select video of the future. Here we now choose Kling, Kling 2, and we'll work with Kling. Next, we take our photo and upload it to the bot. We go to Customize and enter our prompt. You either type something yourself or use an expanded prompt that ChatGPT has already prepared for you. I copy the prompt and paste it here. We won't enter anything in the negative prompt because it basically works without it. That is, we don't have anything specific that we don't need to show. We leave the creativity priority at 50-50. Next, the mode. I recommend you always work with the professional mode because it provides better quality and better detailing. Next, look, I will now choose Kling 1 and 6. Why? Because all the animations I did in this video of animating 100 military photos were all animated in 1 and 6. Here, 5 seconds. That will be enough for us. Well, that's basically it. And we press generate. So look, it doesn't let me through. Most likely it's because the word military is present here. I will now do everything the same, but remove the military theme. So I slightly modified the prompt. It says here, an elderly veteran adorned with orders and medals sits on a chair. With dignity and calmness, he slowly stands up, straightens, slowly brings his hand to his temple, and salutes with his right hand. At the end, the camera smoothly zooms in on his face, and a slight smile appears on the veteran's face. Well, a slight smile. You can leave it like that. Look, there's no mention of war in the text at all. No, the word military, right? Some kind of uniform and so on. So here we skip, here in the middle, professional, I click here, 6, generate. Well, let's see, guys, what we have there. So look, he's smiling, but not getting up. And I don't like that. I don't like that. Let's try changing the prompt. Look, I've now updated the prompt. The person slowly gets up from the chair, stands up to full height. The camera simultaneously rises with him. After he fully stands up from the chair, the person salutes with his right hand, his gaze is focused, and there's a slight smile on his face. What did I do? I practically removed all adjectives here, like medals, orders, and so on. I am practically inserting action and verbs everywhere. And what exactly needs to be done? Because right now, I'm thinking, what's the point of having the neural network describe what it probably already sees and recognizes, like a medal or, for example, a skull cap or a suit? I need to give the neural network more action. This story, the person slowly stands up from the chair, stands up to full height. I actually put it right at the beginning. Most likely, it will even be such that whatever the neural network receives at the start, it primarily spends its generation resources on. In any case, we will check this now. Again, I leave the negative prompt as it is here. Creativity in the middle, professional, Kling 1 and 6.5. Let's go. So the neural network has prepared something for us. Let's take a look, guys. So the animation is ready. Look, the person slowly stands up from the chair, stands up to full height, and the camera simultaneously rises with him. After he fully stands up from the chair, the person salutes with his right hand. Let's take a look. Well, listen, not bad. It turned out pretty well. Good, good. So now let's use exactly the same prompt with the same settings, but here we will not set Kling 1.6, but choose Kling 2.0. In general, Kling 2.0 differs in that it has the better body movement physics for the models, right? That is, we even did a review in the scrambled eggs where there was an elderly couple dancing. They had more graceful movements. There, using the example of some computer game. And here, once again, pay attention. Kling 1.6 means you will spend 21 credits, but Kling 2.0 already costs 60. Well, that is 3 times more. Guys, look, in Kling 2.0, for some reason, it still doesn't generate. I managed to generate Kling 2.0, and further in my masterclass, I will show examples, even using the same photograph, of how Kling 1.6 and Kling 2.0 turn out. Even this small test shows that if you want to animate photographs, whether for yourself or for someone else on order, if you need to generate some amazing videos, not related to animating photographs like clips, then probably Kling 2.0 is great. But for animating photographs, Kling 1.6 is more than sufficient. And the price to quality ratio is the most optimal. And look, while I was waiting for the animation, I also launched it in Higgsfield in parallel. You see, right, Higgsfield, it starts very easily as well. You select video of the future here, and then you enter Higgsfield here, just like that, Higgsfield. Here, accordingly, you upload a photo, and then directly press the prompt right here. So you enter it here, and there's no creativity or anything like that involved. And let's take a look together. For 5 seconds, Higgsfield. By the way, its resolution is much lower. It outputs 464 by 720, well, which is also very important. If, for example, you plan to show it on a big screen somewhere. And the animation is also quite debatable, of course. Quite debatable. So guys, after filming this masterclass, I decided to calmly test the same prompt once more in both versions. Notice that in Kling 2.0, the movements are, of course, much smoother. So yes, it seems that we were just unlucky during the recording of the masterclass. And if you really need cool and lively movements, then be prepared to pay 3 times more for the animation. It all depends on the task. And if you have an order with a good budget, why not? And as you probably already understood, I came to you straight from the future. Look at the time of day outside my window. I made this avatar for myself from the final frames of this masterclass. And if you also want to learn how to play with time and understand how to professionally create digital avatars and earn money with them, then follow the links below this video. There are both free lessons and other useful materials there. And we continue. Let's animate another photo now, but let's take something, let's take this kind of group photo. Let's upload the photo here. These are exactly the photos that I prepared and already animated in the film. So we upload the photo and give the task to create an animation prompt. I want the camera to smoothly move forward here and the column of people to walk towards the camera as well. People are smiling, someone is waving, a horse is galloping towards us, and dust is scattering from it. The camera flies between the horse and the column of people. Okay, we got the prompt. Once again, we go into Kling, upload our photo here, and throw in the photo. So the prompt we got is that the camera smoothly moves forward, passing through a ruined city street. Blah, 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 blah. Well, basically everything that ChatGPT suggested to me. And look, we have such a beautiful animation appearing. Yes, if you start looking into the details, right? That is, if you look, for example, at this person all the way to the end on a big screen, then here, well, some details are already blurry. But in general, yes. When we look for a few seconds, 3 or 4 seconds at the overall picture, well, there's no time to focus on a specific face. When naturally these are group photos or some kind of mass action. And this can be used. As for the animation from A to Z, basically, I have just shown you. I showed you how to register. I showed you the functionality. I showed you some minimal nuances, right? And you can start now animating right now. Well, we are moving on to the second part. I will show you the nuances, insights, and other things I encountered while animating all these 100 military photos. So look, the main insight that I realized for myself is that very often, as you can see here, I received some rejections, meaning disagreements, when the neural network refused to generate for 2 reasons. Either in the first case, I include words like war, weapon, murder, explosion, shooting in the prompt, or well, some thematic words like that, or there is a clearly depicted weapon of war in the photograph. Clearly depicted, in my case, it was always a tank. Notice that throughout 100 photographs, there is practically no tank anywhere. I tried everything, using some workaround words that I will also discuss further. But if the neural network detects that there is a tank, it almost always does not animate it. Sometimes it is animated. In some cases, I have animation, but it seemed not very cool to me, so I didn't even include it. When we move to the cringe section, I'll show you there. But the most important thing you can directly influence is the prompt. Therefore, Okais, if you are working with military themes, always try to avoid these military words. You will, of course, come to this on your own through trial and error when, well, you simply won't be allowed through. But if you want to save a little time, here's my experience for you. Always try to avoid these words. Look, let's quickly go through my prompts so you can understand what prompts I was entering. The camera slowly moves forward, as if penetrating the very essence of the tense moment. Men bent under the weight of boxes crawl along the ruined street. Their movements are slow but determined. Each pull is made with difficulty. Look, you understand, right? I didn't write this. It was written by a neural network. That is, I uploaded a photo and dictated with my voice. I said, well, listen, come up with something cool. Wasamayu, and it gave me such a wonderful animation. I just provided it with some reference points that were important to me. For example, the camera moves forward. Or I would say, for instance, add some birds in the background there. And the photo itself directly looked like this. That is, there was already smoke here initially. People accordingly are crawling. Well, and accordingly, we got this kind of animation here. By the way, in this very bot, look, I also generated photos here. I generated photos for some covers for my YouTube. I just made different ones and chose. That is, I did not participate in this photo session. So here, probably I'll have a little tip. I also have a lesson here already filmed on YouTube or vContactor on how to do such photo sessions directly. This is also a very important thing, really, a must-have, definitely. As for the rejects, look at this photo, right? Again, tanks. I tried all sorts of prompts here, but it didn't let them through. For example, let's analyze this photo. The photo is called Death of a Soviet Soldier. It's covered with text here. So what prompt did I use here? The camera moves smoothly forward, immersing in the tense moment of the attack. Everything happens in slow motion. It's very important to always write this word. Professional 5 seconds, click 1 and 6. 1728 by 1000. 8 by 1184 pixels. So in principle, it's a decent resolution to display even on a big screen. Look how cool it is. Here, and there's the animation smoke going. And, well, people are jumping down. Well, it's a cool dynamic photo capturing this moment. And as you understand, of course, I won't show you everything here. Somewhere I didn't succeed. Again, look here. Yes, with the tanks. Where there are tanks in general, I consistently didn't succeed. By the way, write in the comments if you managed to somehow animate the tanks so that they move. I really, if you have any life hack, I would be immensely grateful to you. Well, and directly all those who are also learning to animate photos. The next nuance is working with the context window in ChatGPT. When I started animating photos, yes, I would upload, a photo, just like I showed you today in the masterclass. The neural network would then suggest a prompt to me. Sometimes I would ask, for example, to remove the word war, sometimes to remove the word attack, or for instance, things like bullets, tanks, and other such items. Since I always worked in the same context window, it calibrated itself within the first 10 to 15 instances and understood exactly what I wanted. In other words, what requirements are needed to make it respond faster. When the first prompts from ChatGPT gave me the first 10 images, I was struggling, and it was struggling to rewrite or do something else. But after the 20th, it went smoothly. What does went smoothly mean? I was basically uploading a photo there. And since it already knows that I want the camera to move forward, I want everything to be in slow motion. And why in slow motion? I'll explain a bit later. I want, some other elements so that I don't have to sit and explain every time. Since it's all in one context window, it's very convenient. Therefore, if you are animating in a certain style, try to upload all your photos into one context window if you are working with GPT chat and it helps you write prompts. What does context window mean? Here we have GPT chat. In GPT chat, there are different various dialogues. Then you will start receiving these prompts very quickly. You will just need to upload the photo there. The neural network, already knowing all your preferences from the past 15 or 20 photos, will use this information. You won't need to articulate it each time. And most importantly, you will save time. That is a minute here, a minute there. In fact, you can accumulate enough for a whole day over the course of a week. So if you're just animating 1 or 2 photos to surprise relatives, this advice is useless to you. But if you're doing this on a regular basis, make sure to work in the context window. This way you'll save yourself time. Let's move on. Regarding slow motion, especially when you are working with military photos. Yes, historical photos, especially when it's an action, always add to your prompt that it should be slowed down. Again, when I, for example, was just creating the context window within the GPT chat, I constantly mentioned this. And then after the 3rd, 5th, or 10th photo, naturally, the neural network remembered this. And it always, by default, would say what needs to be added to make it slow motion. Because, for example, there was another rejection here. Here, it was most likely related to the fact that he was initially holding a gun. Yes, the prompt mentioned a gun, and most likely it was rejected because of that. But here, yes. Look, what is the prompt? The camera moves parallel with the people, dynamically accompanying them in slow motion. So slow motion is present. Most likely there is slow motion somewhere else here as well. I emphasize this moment. Well, look, the prompt is not complete here. It continued further, but it doesn't show here. Most likely, I also added something like in super slow motion there. When you work with historical photographs, especially where memory, a tribute, or whatever it may be is needed, always add a slight slow motion. When there is this slight slow motion in the video, it always evokes a sense of nostalgia through certain memories and pleasant feelings. There you go. Use the word slowly in one form or another, depending on the photograph itself. By the way, here's another life hack. You can quickly find everything you've entered by prompts, for example, by entering the word, say, horses. Wherever there were horses, it will give you a selection. Yes, this photograph. Now I'll show you. Here I write everything in super slow motion. And then, in principle, all the fighters, all the horses, yes, they remain here practically in the frame and do not leave. And we see such a super slow-mo. Let's move on. What to do if the photograph doesn't come to life? There are 2 main reasons here. Either there are some words in the prompt that the neural network doesn't allow, or there is some image that the neural network doesn't allow. As for the prompt, it's easier here. You just rewrite the prompt and specify, well, here you mostly remove the words that are likely causing it not to trigger. Again, if it's a military theme, then most likely anything related to war. And if we return to the context window of the GPT chat, then, for example, I would immediately tell it not to use any military words at all. And naturally, it didn't use them at all. Even if it saw that a company of soldiers was coming, it would write that a group of people was coming. That's it. In this way, you can kind of bypass it. If, for example, you are rewriting a prompt and it doesn't animate, or even there are some images that prevent it from animating, but it's critically important for you to animate this photo, then you can use another neural network more within this bot as well. Look, we go to the main menu, enter future video, and select this Higgsfield Minimx. This neural network always animates any photo 100% of the time, but it animates a bit worse. The detail is worse, the faces are worse, the quality is worse. Not critically, but worse. I worked a lot with this photo. Well, it's a famous photo, right? The Soviet flag over the Reichstag. I used everything there, removed all sorts of words, yes. But Kling did not animate it in any way. I tried to animate it more than 20 times for sure. I tried to animate it in various ways. And look, I managed to animate it. Notice, I animated it in Minimx. 6 seconds, the Minimx neural network was created. This kind of animation. But again, look, here's what I didn't like. I'll pause it now. Very poor detailing. At the beginning, it's basically okay, wrong, yes. Not at the beginning. This passage, when the dynamics are happening, is basically okay. And in the video, I have 100 animated photos. I use this particular frame, but I trimmed the beginning a little and I trimmed the end a little. Somewhere after this second, so that the viewer, yes, cannot notice these uneven roofs or this part that looks like it's painted with oil. I also slowed down the core part a little. In the editing software, you know, added a few seconds. The story here is that there's a hammer and sickle symbol. Where there is a hammer and sickle or some other military symbols, the Kling neural network does not allow it. I don't really know what this is related to. I think it's a bit too strict of a policy condition. But in any case, we work with what we have. If you have a photo that you absolutely need to animate, but Kling doesn't animate it, use this neural network called Minimx. Next tip, don't leave your work until the last minute. All my tips now are more for those who are already planning to do this professionally or are already doing it. If you told a client, for example, that everything would be ready by 6 o'clock and you start animating at 5, that's a bad strategy because the bot might glitch. Something might happen with the bot. Over the course of 3 months, while animating all these photos, the bot froze a couple of times, something didn't work or something else happened. And of course, I was animating for myself, so it wasn't critical. But if it's, for example, an anniversary and guests are gathered, always leave a buffer of extra time. The next life hack you can use is if it's crucial for people to show blood. Or for instance, if a person is lying down and say they were killed, right? And you know how it is in movies, blood starts to flow from under them. Kling won't miss that. But for example, you can say that the person starts to leak tomato juice. Tomato juice is about the same consistency as blood and in color too. Well, if it's in color photographs, if it's black and white, it will be even easier. If, for example, the theme is murder, blood, or something else, it's artistically very important to show it because it's part of your artistic vision. Then try using something like tomato juice or something similar if you need to show blood. Sometimes even a single word can influence a lot. For example, look, the camera slowly zooms in, capturing a lone woman walking across desolate land, blah, blah, blah. Here we are watching the clip. Here goes the woman, right? And well, first of all, by the end, her face has transformed, right, into a young one. And secondly, well, look at how she walks. Well, it feels like she just came out of some mega mall and has just done some shopping at a trendy store. Why does this happen? Because here the word is woman. And then, for example, I use the same prompt, but use the word lonely grandmother. And when I write lonely grandmother, then look, she already has a grandmother's walk. Here she is walking a heavier, more complex gait. She is more hunched. Her face doesn't change much. And essentially, that is, we change the word to grandmother and the neural network fills in the rest. It understands that, they're based on algorithms, I don't know, there are millions of views on how grandmothers walk. They understand that they limp a bit, a certain physics. And this also has a very strong influence. Therefore, what you input into the prompt is key. It's very important. You can influence absolutely everything that happens there. Look, here's a photograph. This is my mom. She's riding a bicycle. By the way, she actually doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. And when I was animating, I wrote here, a woman is riding a bicycle on the road. A man is walking behind her, blah, blah, blah. So she is riding and flying by. By the way, regarding the physics again. Notice, I write here, the wind is swaying the grass. And we see here that the grass, yes, and the wind indeed starts. It results in a more lively picture. Obviously, I could have added more, like a flock of birds flying in the background or something else. The picture would have been even more dynamic. But that's not the point right now. The point is that I thought about what could be done to, I don't know, radically change it. And then the idea came to me, what if I, for example, write that a woman is falling, the woman is falling off a bicycle. Look, and by working with the same photograph, we, get such a frightening action. You can essentially create anything you want. It's like some kind of clay. And whatever comes to your mind, you can make it happen. Everything is only in your head, in your imagination. As for the length of the prompt, I wouldn't say that the length of the prompt significantly affects how the final version will look. In any case, I'm too lazy to even write 3 or 4 words myself. It's more convenient for me when ChatGPT writes for me, and since it automatically writes everything anyway, it can also beautifully detail everything, down to the smallest detail. But if, for example, you write, the camera smoothly zooms in here, yes, and people are watching some kind of movie, quite literally. The camera flies over the people and the people are watching a movie. That's the kind of prompt. And such a prompt, already long and expansive, won't make much of a difference fundamentally. What am I getting at? The point is, if you don't want to bother with ChatGPT to have an elaborate prompt, you need to set something up. And you're like, well, since I can't manage long prompts, I'd rather not do it at all. No, that's not the case. Even if you write just 3 or 4 words, you'll still get more or less the same great generation. It's just that with an elaborate prompt, you can influence some small details like, I don't know, having something sparkle in this spotlight, or the light flickering, or something else. So for example, birds flying up to the trees. So you can already make this super fine tuning. But even if you would just jot down some key ideas in the prompt, and it consists of 4 to 8 words, you'll still get a good animation. The next point, perhaps someone has wondered what would happen if I input the same photo and the exact same prompt into the neural network, say Kling 1.6, identical point by point. I tested this too, and I can say that you get radically different animations. So I uploaded a photo. A woman is dancing, there's an accordion player here, and a prompt was specified here. Everything seems to be in slow motion. Again, in slow motion, the camera smoothly moves forward, passing between the dancing man and woman, blah, blah, blah. Look at the animation that resulted here. So here, well, the physics is broken, right? That is, the woman's torso rotates 360 degrees, but her head stays in place. I think, well, okay, fine. What if I don't change anything at all? And here, it results in a completely different animation. Here, the woman somehow pulls out an accordion from somewhere and starts playing. So if you upload the same photo with the same prompt into the same neural network with the same settings, you'll get a radically different version. That is, you won't get an exact one-to-one result. Let's move on. Look, in this bot, you can also work with photos. For example, take a look at this photo. There is a fascist symbol here. Kling wouldn't allow me to use this photo. That is, I wanted the camera to zoom in, people walking around, but it wouldn't let me animate it because it recognized the fascist symbol. And accordingly, due to propaganda and other reasons. And it wouldn't allow it. What I did, and how you can also use a similar tool. In the same bot, in the Syntx bot, you can work with photos. What do you need for this? You go to the design series section. Then you select the tool called retouch. Here I show retouching. You take the necessary photo, for example, this one, yes, upload it, and a window like this will appear. If you choose to retouch the sides, there will be such functionality. Look, here you can, for example, work with the slider. It can then retouch, it can retouch the entire image. Here, increase the ground. Here, it can increase the sky. Here, accordingly, if there are houses and other things on the sides, we won't spend time on this right now. I'm just showing that there is also such a tool here, and all of this can be used within this bot as well. But here, for example, there is such a thing as editing the area. And I use this function, and this photograph is, in my video, 100 deceptive photographs. And there, this Nazi symbol is blurred out. How do you do this? It's very simple. Yes. Let me make it larger for you so you can see. And accordingly, what you do, you, for example, take this tool, and here you can adjust with the slider. And for instance, you choose to paint over this part. In general, maybe you don't even need to write anything. I think it will understand anyway. You press generate. Here it transitions into a task. Look, there are 4 free generations left. I remind you that if you subscribe to the Syntx bot community, you get 5 free generations every day. So, well, and it quickly, you see, right? It perfectly just covered it up. And as you understand, if you have, for example, some worn out photos, or if your photos have creases or any other defects, with this brush and with the help of the neural network, you can also conveniently restore photos directly on your phone with a swipe of your finger. That is, people also make money from this. Well, it's clear that they do something professionally in Photoshop. But here, if it's not that important, or for example, you need to bypass some neural network, it's also a great tool. Now you know that there is such a tool as well. And by the way, you know, it doesn't skip words either. For example, I tried to animate this photo and it didn't let me through. I didn't understand. There was no military theme and there was nothing else. But you know, why didn't it animate for me? I had written here, their smiles move sincerely and gracefully. They salute in unison as they pass by. The traffic controller, here it was written past, the Soviet traffic controller. And the word Soviet, Kling, our dear Chinese friend, for some reason also decided not to allow. So I removed the word Soviet and everything worked. Therefore, if your photo isn't animating, check if you have any such theme. Let's move on. Regarding the comparison between Kling 1.6 and Kling 2.0, I have a photo, yes, and here I animated it in Kling 1.6 showing Kling 1.6. This is the kind of animation. So yes, it could be better if the camera zoomed in some elements and so on. And here, of course, I would add more slow motion. Do you remember what I was talking about? Here, I think I even wrote about it, but here they seem to jerk comically. And when you write in slow motion, it turns out smoother, more composed, and cooler. But now we are comparing. Now, we are showing that, look, here I used Kling 2.0, then I used the same thing with the same prompt, 2.0. This is what it turns out like. So it is already moving. Here, of course, the man lifted his leg for some reason. I still don't understand why he did that. The movement is slightly smoother, but to say that it's drastically better, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. So if you want, well, animate 3 times more expensively. At least as of now, yes. On the day of recording how Kling 2.0 works, I don't particularly like it yet. I choose Kling 1.6. I think it's the most optimal price-quality option. Another comparison. Look, for example, Kling 1.6. You see, it turned out like this. And I also have a video with 100 animated biographies. I specifically inserted the working version of Kling 1.6. Because the animation in Kling 2.0, here I'm showing Kling 2.0, I didn't really like. That is, in terms of physics, yes, look, they seem more natural in terms of physics, but it's as if they're too choppy. In general, it's as if they move too artificially. There's just not that documentary feel in general. Well, also here, it's as if, you know, some element, some blood or some dirt got in or something else or some kind of bug. In general, I decided to keep in the video these more fluid movements. Plus, I slowed it down a bit, and it turned out beautifully. So, guys, we've reached the third part. So I'm showing some cringeworthy photos here now. So, look, well, you've already seen this. You've seen how a person shaves. Here, too, he is shaving. Here, I completely mixed up the prompts. I was supposed to have a crow in one. And here, directly the flag over the Reichstag. I mixed up the prompt with the photograph, and as a result, well, it turned into such a confusing story. I tried to bring this photograph to life many times, but not more than the photograph with the combat commander. We will also get to the combat commander now. Here, a Malaysian flag appeared for some reason. I don't know why. So sometimes this kind of cringe happens here. That is, it can sometimes merge 2 frames together. So, in the prompt, it was written that, well, basically there's a train going, people, you see, right? A military orchestra is playing, all that. And then suddenly, and sometimes, hop, and it switches. Well, naturally, this is a bug. Naturally, this shouldn't happen. Naturally, these people do not exist. These are not real people. It's generated content. But in general, I also decided to keep it and show you that sometimes this happens too. In this version, there was no such merging, but here's what I didn't like. Here, in general, it's some kind of nightmare, just horrible. Take a look. In general, it just looks like a horror movie. Naturally, I couldn't include something like this in the video either. Moving on. Here, this is also just some kind of trash. The key point is that in the prompt, I incorrectly specified where the column should move. I wrote that in general. I wrote that it moves towards the camera, but it should have been written moves away from the camera. So essentially this small conjunction in the prompt, yes, the small towards or away from, fundamentally changes the entire movement. And since it moves backward, it had to figure out how should they move then, and who are these people? In general, it turned into something incredible, terrifying. Here, some kind of horse. Legs appeared on the soldier. There's some kind of unclear neck here. In general, also, be attentive to what you write directly in the prompt, because even one or two letters can fundamentally affect what you get. And this is, again, time and money that you spend and invest. Here, a photo of the combat. Those who follow me on my Telegram, you've already seen that I tried more than 20 times to animate the photo. Mm-hmm. And I had all sorts of things here, various photos. I couldn't animate it properly the way I wanted. In some version, I took the photo. Here, it even ran backward. In one of the photos, I took the phase I needed, I slowed it down, but that's not it. Here, it turned out to be some kind of Avengers movie. But, as you understand, everything I'm showing you are various animations. This is also not it. Also not it. In general, I couldn't do it properly the way I really wanted, but I really tried a lot here. So moving on. Here, look, there seems to be a tank. I mentioned about tanks that I couldn't get it right, but here it's just some crazy montage. This is like some kind of horror movie. Here I also put it in Cringe because what was my idea? That the camera flies in, goes into this eyepiece, well, or not an eyepiece, and in general, in this little window, people are dancing. I wanted to make such a creative decision, but then it produced some kind of construction like this. Honestly, I think this is also a sick fantasy of the neural network. Something like this doesn't exist at all. I think old cameras didn't look like that, although maybe they did. Well, let me know if anyone is knowledgeable. But here, in general, there's also some kind of body, like a Canon 5D Mark II in this casing. And in general, not to include this in the video either, although in principle it's kind of interesting, but it seems more like some kind of a cringe-worthy story. Here, accordingly, I also tested, but I didn't succeed with the physics. Here, the plane in general seems like it's trying to take off, but it didn't manage to. This was Kling 1.6, and then Kling 2.0. Well, Kling 2.0 just gave me some nonsense. I didn't include it either. This photo turned out for me on the second or third try. This is more of a cringe-worthy story. It's like, a zombie, especially if you look at this person. This one fell and didn't quite fall, then got up and went. In general, naturally, it all looks comical and such things. Well, it's better not to include in the work. Next, here. These rockets, I think the first launch of either Katyushas or something. But here, it's like Chinese lanterns in general. Ones that didn't quite take off. Here too. Here it's already slower. So I tried, but in general I couldn't manage with the rockets. Here I ended up with some kind of a hedgehog in the fog. I don't understand at all where it came from. Well, basically a lot of different crappy things that in general I didn't include. Here it also seems like a tank, but somehow they are too much, as if from, a 50 Cent music video. They look like they're jumping out of a car. In general, it's also unnatural. I certainly didn't include such clips. This kind of animation also appeared. The man in the foreground, I didn't write about him, but he was there. Look here and here, there's already some kind of pile of, something unclear. And I think I did include this particular phase in the main video. Because on one hand, it seems kind of cringy. Well, not exactly cringy, but something unclear. There's even someone's hand here. But I really like the dynamics. And the camera moves, in this kind of pseudo-documentary style. Very cool. I decided to keep it. Here, something unclear happened with the girl. Look, I also decided not to keep it because some kind of futuristic plane started to appear here. And here, with the girl, it's also unclear whether it's a dress, a skirt, or something else. In general, I decided not to include it. Here, I also couldn't really figure out these pumpkins. Overall, it all looked unnatural somehow. The photo itself is cool, natural. I also couldn't manage with this photograph. Look, he's looking through binoculars, but he's looking somewhere downwards. Well, he's not looking properly. I tried different prompts, and I think I even tried several times. Somewhere there I have it. Somewhere I have it that I generated it several times. Here I couldn't get it so that he was looking into the distance properly. Maybe in some neural network I would have succeeded, but I tried. What I managed to get was only this kind of thing. And here's another option, by the way. But it also, the lenses of the binoculars themselves, I couldn't get it right. Here too, look, it's just some kind of mess, of course, unclear. I don't understand why this happened, but apparently something got mixed up. Perhaps if I had fine-tuned the prompt, it would have worked out. But since this photo wasn't crucial for me, I kind of skipped it. That's it. But there were crucial photos for me, like the flag over the Reichstag or the photo of the combatant with a pistol. And I wouldn't say that they turned out really great, but at least something came out, so I managed to play around with it. But when a photo isn't crucial, I didn't dwell on it and moved on. Okay, look, it's clear that you can animate war photos and other things. Easter was recently, right? And in our family chat, my mom sent a message saying, "Happy Easter to everyone," and shared a photo like this. So she dyed eggs and made little bunnies like these. It seems cute. And I thought, wow, what if, for example, I animate this very photo and I just sent it to the bot, specifying, look, on a cozy white plate, the bright Easter eggs start to bounce, blah, blah, blah. Again, it wasn't me. The neural network in general helped me. And it turned into such a cool animation. And when I sent this animation, this video clip to the chat, I was also talking to my mom on WhatsApp at that moment, and I was just curious to see her pupils, her eyes. It was cool. I mean, she was surprised. It was her. She just did it herself. Well, it's clear that a person of age, someone over 60, but she just did it. And it all came to life. And it came to life in an interesting, original way. Having this bot, you can, of course, on one hand earn money, but on the other hand, simply create bright moments in your everyday life, for example, by bringing emotions where they are not expected, possibly in some chats like family, school, parent groups, or with friends playing around with your own photos. For example, with my daughter, yes, for instance, besides her, I wrote that, listen, this plush bear should come to life, jump, and so on. When I showed it to my daughter, I also have this post on my Telegram where I described it in detail. I captured my daughter's reaction. She was just amazed that, her, let's say, favorite toy, right? It jumped. And look at how the physics of the chair worked. Very cool. Really awesome. You can come up with anything your imagination can hold in your head. You can use it. There are hundreds, thousands of applications. It's just a matter of your creativity. Look, regarding the slow motion effect on photos that I mentioned, I've just expanded the project for you. Well, specifically the 100 animated photos that I brought to life. And I already showed you this video before, right? Speed 0, 0.7, speed 1. Obviously, I'm not going to give you a master class on editing right now. That's a completely different topic. The only thing I can say is that if you've never edited before and you're just starting out, then install CapCut right away. It has both a paid and a free version. Everything you saw in the film of 100 animated photos can easily be done in the free version. I'll just visually show you where it is right now. Look, the same thing, a comparative topic, right? Speed 0, 0.7, speed 1. This file, yes, the one that's shorter for me, well, logically, here it is at speed 1, which I indicated here. It's the original one that the neural network provided. So we go in here, go into speed. Here we select this file, choose its speed here, and here it's speed 1.0. This is by default. Any file you upload to CapCut, for example, will have 1.0. Well, considering the original speed it has, even if it's, for instance, slightly in slow motion, it will be by default here as the original. But I want it to be slightly slowed down. Then, accordingly, I just make a comparison here. And here I set the speed to 0.7, so I can change it. You see, right? It changes right here for me. If I set it back to 0.7, it kind of goes with more of a delay. Let me show you another project. This is a project with my archival family photos. And some people ask me about the effects. Let me show you as well, so you understand how I make them. So, what is applied here? And then, more or less, it all repeats. So, what did I do here? For example, I trimmed a little May, right? And here I use something like animation. I select a file. Here I choose animation. And there are many, many, many different transitions, all sorts of things. I decided for myself that this theme would be like a slide change. There's something similar here. In general, this is the transition, the overlay. Here it is, you see, right? It shifts like this. Here, for instance, this spreading is also just dynamics. I played around with the sound here, right? I worked with this click. It was like this, right? Listen, I'll turn it up now. Here it is originally in the music, or rather not in the music, but in the intersound. I'll show you where to get the intersounds now. And I decided to work with it as well, and it's just some kind of effect here. So we go into the effects, and there are a lot of them here. You apply them, and accordingly it gives this effect. I applied it not to the entire file, but only in this part where this particular sound is. Accordingly, it creates such an effect. What else? I added a small feature. To all the files, it's called, and here, the effects are applied. The film frame, it's here. I think I also added it to my favorites to find it faster. Yes, the film frame. There's this guy with a skateboard here. You can add to favorites using the star. There are many, many effects. You click on the star and it goes into your favorites. And when you're constantly editing something, you don't search for long, you just go to favorites and use it. Let's say, look, I'll turn off this effect now, okay? Hop. And then it's just, well, a photo appears, right? Just a photo. And the most important thing here is there's no ripple effect. Now I'll do it like this. So you can see both the corners and the ripple here. But if I, for example, add the effect, hop, you see, right? It already has this, well, muted style, like some kind of old film. And most importantly now, you'll see these internoises from the film. Do you see these imperfections? They appear. They create such an atmosphere. With some simple tricks, like these, you can enhance and add value to the video. I'll also talk about added value a bit later. Speaking of sounds, it's also very simple. Here in CapCut, it's all available, all for free. Not music, but sound effects, right? And here, there are many sounds. The logic is the same. If you like a sound, you add a star to it. The star accordingly appears in your favorites. You can also search, for example, by keywords, for instance. There. Well, I've already searched. You see the tags. Well, let's say I type something like camera here. And here I have everything related to cameras. In general, everything that interests you is available here in CapCut. There is as in the paid version, and a lot of what works in the free version of CapCut too. Accordingly, in order to add atmosphere, I, for example, added ambient noises here. Look, pay attention as if this is, you know, a projector, the film projector. I essentially took it from here. I found like the sound of a projector, right? And so it gave me the sound of a projector. Well, I downloaded this sound. Well, you just type hissing film sound in Google. Now I will turn off this music so you can hear it. And I will turn this off. Now you will hear it. You hear it, right? And it gives this really cool atmosphere. And you know, like when you're making borscht, right? Here you add bay leaves, here salt, here peppers, pum 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 pum, and you get an amazing borscht. An amazing borscht that you can either eat yourself or resell later. Here, also pay attention, I used a kind of background. I just downloaded something from the internet, either from YouTube or somewhere else. Moreover, I slowed it down a bit, right? Notice here I set it to 0.5. Plus, I think I applied some effect to it, right? I also found a romantic blur here. It turns out to be something cool, unconventional, slow. Because if you disable all this, if you disable the effect, if you restore the speed, then it looks like this. In my opinion, it's too fast and, well, not cool. All right, okay, I think that's all for CapCut. Let's move on to the final part, how to make money from this. Look, guys, this is my profile. Today I went for a haircut by Metro. And in the Metro, I saw animated photos. Very cool. I'll show you now. Here. Yes, this is the Metro in the city of Almaty. So what did I actually want to say? That, on one hand, yes, people release some reels, and it's unclear what all this is for. So this is what it's for. You can take such orders. It's clear that not everyone will manage to reach the administration or get some big expensive orders, but nevertheless, you can already earn money by animating photos. If you watched the video that was playing on the monitors closely, you would see that it wasn't just animated. They added some captions and special effects. Well, again, they added value, thereby increasing the product's price. You know, I even wrote somewhere in my Telegram channel. Oh, here it is. I wrote a post about how they stole my relatives. In short, here's what happened. I went on Avito because I was curious about the wish. Do they animate photos or not? How much do they charge, basically? What's the market price? And I go in, let me show you closer. I go into one ad and see myself. That's me, that's my brother. And further on, well, it's my relatives. I see that some Ilya Poryadokhny, yes, is selling photo animation. For those interested in my position on all this, yes, I've detailed it here. You can take a look. But to give a quick preview, I feel calm about it. Calm. I already wrote here, even back then, that I strongly believe the market is forming. Then Ilya will most likely create some kind of portfolio. Yes, his own, and everything will change. It will change because, yes, I also sometimes use such methods. When you introduce a new product, you have nothing at all. You need to start from something. It's okay. It's normal. I take it calmly. And I didn't even contact him. Didn't say anything. By the way, let's check the ad. See if he removed it or not. So the ad has been taken down. The ad has been taken down. Well, Ilya is decent. Ilya is decent. Yes, let's visit Ilya. The link to that ad, of course, is gone, but he has plenty of other active ads. Let's see what's here. So where's the animation itself? What, you attach the photos and that's it? Hello, Ilya Poryadych? So guys, basically, if you are going to animate photos and post them on Avito, and you will need to do that, right? I mean, it's logical that you need to attach a video. So let's take a look. Do people generally do it like this? Photo animation. Look, we go straight to the market, right? Photo animation from 500 rubles. Training, photo animation. So 1,004, 1,500 rubles. Most likely, there is already some recorded video lesson, and people just send a link. Basically, what you're watching now, people are also making money from it. There, 1,500 rubles, most likely they send a link. As for the case, a good case. Marina, if you're watching us now, well done. There are reviews. In general, everything is going well for you. Everything is great. See, hugs. There's a video here, most likely different clips. Well, excellent, excellent. Here's more activity. 19 reviews, 24 reviews, 81 reviews. Well, in general, look, there is a market. There is definitely a market. Yes, of course, you might say that. Well, there are already plenty of such people. But really, you can say that about almost anything. Bread, too, accordingly. I don't know how long, hundreds of years, even thousands of years it's been produced. Well, people have been producing bread for a long time. But nevertheless, new enterprises, new factories are being created. And there are a huge number of stalls that produce, right? There, I don't know, some samosas to go or something else. Here is where ingenuity comes into play, where you will apply it. But we'll talk about that a little later as well. For 500 rubles, they bring a photograph to life. I don't know, there, actually, most likely it's one. That is, the work is done at cost. Yes, they most likely charge 500 rubles for one photograph. Well, here it is, the market, 500, 650, 300, 500, 300. Well, give or take, in general, let's see, 500 rubles for a revived photograph is the current market rate. If you're in Kazakhstan, there's a different platform, OLX, where the market might be slightly smaller, but it exists too. And people who live in Kazakhstan are unlikely to use Avito. They are more likely to use OLX or some other platforms there. If you are working internationally, then you definitely need either Upwork or Fiverr. I won't spend time on that right now. The price will be significantly higher there because working an hour abroad costs much more. And here you can work from anywhere in the world. You don't necessarily have to be in the EU or in America. So this becomes your competitive advantage. In general, regarding added value, we were animating photos probably about 10 years ago. For those who don't know, I am the head of the video production company Vozeland Production. People who already had money usually approached us, for example, for some kind of anniversary. We scanned photos of these people, we took the photo in Photoshop and cut out, for example, the layer of the person. Then, for instance, we ended up with 2 layers, right? The cutout person and, well, this kind of blank was cut out. Then we used a stamp on this blank to cover up these corners manually. And now it's very convenient with neural networks. But back then, we did it manually, covering it up. Then we took, for example, 2 layers, and in After Effects, we assigned movement to one layer in one direction and to the other in another direction. For example, we also assigned keyframe movements to his hand, and, well, it turned out to be something atmospheric. We did all of this manually. And even back then, when we did everything manually, we were already selling quite well. We could, for example, sell a video for an anniversary for 50,000 rubles. That was back then. Guys, we were selling this 10 years ago. Now, prices are rising. Of course, there's competition and so on. But, you know, on YouTube, under my first masterclass, people wrote, who would buy a video for, say, 50,000 rubles or for an anniversary for 100,000 rubles? The question is, who is your client? And the question is, to whom are you selling? I've been creating videos since the 9th grade. I have never worked anywhere. I only work for myself. And now my team has been working for me for many years. I understand how the market is structured. And for example, if we take our average video, say about some companies for 2 minutes, our average price is around 1 to 1.5 million rubles. So if you convert that to dollars, it comes out to, well, about $15,000 to $16,000. So that's our average price. Do you understand? Our average price. For some people now, well, their jaw might drop. How can you pay like 1 to 1.5 million rubles for 2 minutes? But the thing is, I know guys whose average price, for example, if we're talking about rubles, is from 7 to 10 million rubles. So they won't even work for 1 or 2 million rubles. So when you write about who would do a job for 50,000 rubles or 100,000 rubles, the question is, which market are you targeting? It's clear that reaching a person who can easily, for example, spend 100 to 200,000 rubles for photo animation for their anniversary or their wife's is significantly less common. I agree. But no one says that such people don't exist. And as a rule, such videos usually cannot be shown. That's why people pay such amounts. You understand, right? That is, videos for 500 rubles are of course easy to show, but they are not worth 500 rubles. So once again, it comes back to the question of added value. What does it consist of? The simplest option is when you not only animate the photo, but also add music, special effects, titles, and film effects. Next, okay, and how can you increase the added value even more? You add deadlines, quick implementation, and how else can you create added value? For example, by having a manager, your manager, who can quickly change something, right? Why, for example, can we make a video for 1 million to 1.5 million, say, for some factory, while others cannot? Because others cannot make a bunch of revisions. They cannot make a bunch of revisions over 2 months. They can't handle it, but we can. And that's our added value. That's our competitive advantage. We're kind of okay, like we're ready to endure for 2 months. Of course, it's not good. Our task is to package everything and get it done within those 2 months. For example, right now we're closing a client. Let me show you, just so you understand, okay? We've been working with them for a year. Throughout the year, there were some revisions. Someone got sick and other issues. It's been a nightmare. And now we've reached a stage where everything is okay. It's a large company, and they are asking us for a huge amount of documents just to pay us for what we did for them 6 months ago. And now we're stuck because it turns out that our lease agreement, where our company rents an office, it's in their documents. What we provided them a year ago is expired, and it seems like, why would you even care if it's expired or not? But those are the rules of the game, you know. When people are ready to pay big money, you kind of have to play along. And naturally, if it's someone like, well, for example, a wedding planner, right? Well, with all due respect, we all started from there. And you can earn very well at weddings too. They are not really ready to take on these risks, these adjustments, and so on. And their added value slightly decreases. That is, it is also present because they compile some kind of video and so on. But they are not ready to provide such a service. And due to the fact that you are willing to take on risks, sometimes you are ready to work on a post-payment basis when the client doesn't even pay you until the video is completed, right? When you take on these risks, you can sell for 1 million, 1.5, 2, or even 4. We also have such videos. This is how added value is formed. But of course, you won't achieve this immediately, just like that, with a snap of your fingers. Therefore, use the 4+1 system. For those who don't know it, visit my YouTube channel. Well, it's called my business system 4+1. Very simple. Look, first, the first step is you do something. And in general, you understand whether it's interesting or not. Second, you form something from it. Well, that is, if you realize that you are interested, let's go forward. You create a portfolio. What I'm explaining now is not important at all. It could be photo editing, maybe you braid hair, maybe you do massages, maybe something else. But more or less, as long as I've been in business, this 4+1 system, it's completely universal. It always fits. Moreover, I'm currently launching new products. I go through the first stage in exactly the same way, processing it all through myself. So, in the second step, you build a portfolio. Your task is to create case studies. Don't worry about not charging money. At this stage, don't worry about money. You don't need to make money. You need to build a portfolio. You need to gather reviews. For example, let's take the simplest case. You've decided to work on photo editing. You tried. You've just watched this video. Next, you install this bot and try to animate. Do you like it or not? You don't like it. Great. You tried well. Look for something that you like. I don't know, maybe you'll go into psychology, maybe something else. But if you tried it and realized it's cool, you like it, start by creating an ad on Avito. To create it, you need to have some cases. Not like Ilya, who just put up some silly photos and that's it. So much time has passed, you could have animated something by now, but really bring it to life. And how to do that? Announce on your social networks, guys, if anyone's interested, I'm ready to, for example, bring it to life. But here's an important point. You don't do this for free. You do it in exchange for reviews. So that people here, yes, give you likes and write reviews. So that your advertisement, your profile on the same Avito, OLX, Upwork, Fiverr, or something else already has a lot of stars and reviews. You need to agree on this right from the start. Look, if Janie or look, Ekaterina, I'm going to animate the photos now. Let's take a photo of your mom, grandma, or someone else, husband, wife. I'll animate it. But your task is to give me, for example, 5 stars and write how great I am. This is your earnings, because sometimes good and timely reviews can be much more valuable than the money earned. In the third step, you just need to work and earn. You need to do your work. Each time, for example, each animation or something else, better than you did before. So what is your best work? The next one, correct? Well done. And the fourth point, look, it's called advertise. That is, you always need to advertise, no matter what you are doing. If we continue with the topic of photography, then you need to, for example, on the same Avito, gradually with each, there, little money right away, always. It doesn't matter if you're selling for 1 million, 5 million, or 10,000 rubles. Remember, 30% should absolutely be set aside for advertising, always, no less. And at the start, it should be more. You need to advertise all the time, no matter how much you earn. And it's better if you advertise, for example, by buying something on Avito, and also find time, for example, to create some reels, to keep the algorithms promoting you. But initially, you can focus on one type of traffic, for example, either buying ads on Avito or deciding that every day for a month, you will dedicate an hour to enhancing photos. And I make reels out of it. Exactly the same thing I did with animating those military photos. Because before creating a video of 100 animated photos, I started by animating a few and immediately making reels and then posting them online. Look, let's say, for example, I'll show you my dashboard now. Shorts by views. These videos, by the way, look, I have ones with 1 million, almost 2 million views, all generated with a neural network, not with me. It's all with a digital avatar. And so, for example, look, 79,000, almost 80,000 rubles. Oh, 80,000 views. Video. Here are 6 photographs. Well, in general, you got it, right? I animated 6 photographs, and then you can make a call to action accordingly. What does call to action mean? At the end, you either, for example, want me to animate you, go to WhatsApp, leave a request. If you want, for instance, something else, do this or that. If you want something else, do this or that. This way you can advertise yourself. Decide on a month for yourself and just keep hitting that point. Animate 3 to 4 photos. Post reels every day, and in this way, you gain reach, get an audience, and most importantly, form an understanding among the people who follow you that this is what you're about now. Next, accordingly, you can raise the bar. For example, you can start creating a product. Well, for example, a product like this, I made this one. The neural network brought a family photo archive to life. I took all the photos of my relatives and turned them into a 3-minute video. Well, anyway, that's not the point right now. The point is that you can now sell not for 500 rubles, but a video like this, for example, for someone's anniversary. I think it's actually quite easy. Well, sort of how, what's there? Is it really impossible to sell it for 20 or 30,000 rubles? And in this way, you've moved from 500 rubles to 20 or 30,000 rubles. And you can do even more, you know? For example, these animated photos can become part of your product. For instance, you're already making a video, you're making a film, right? You're making a film that includes shooting, for example, and the same anniversary interviews, and you directly incorporate the animated photos into it. But when it comes to such large projects, it's better, of course, to form a team. And here is the 5th point. Team. Note that my system is called 4+1. Up to the 4, it suits everyone, no matter what they are doing. Well, that is, if people want to live, earn, and eat, they need to do something. And from 1 to 4, everyone should be doing it. Even if you are an employee, you still need to advertise yourself in some way, even to your employer, right? Well, it's just that there's its own system there. But if you understand that, you don't just want to work for someone and you want, for example, to create a team, delegate, start managing, then you need to incorporate this +1 number. But again, this is not necessary for everyone. Absolutely not for everyone. Because the majority of people, as a rule, work for someone. But again, if you are a restless person, then you need to incorporate this aspect. But that's an entirely different thing altogether. That means you need to read books, watch educational videos, attend workshops, and make a lot of mistakes. In general, team building is a completely separate topic. I also have something to say on this topic. I have been managing teams for over 15 years, especially in creative groups, like video production and others. I don't know now. I haven't heard of this system anywhere. I didn't steal it from anywhere. I just formed it in my head and called it 4 + 1 and added a number, well, because it's always easier for people to remember some kind of system. 4 + 1. Because this +1 is not always needed by everyone. Because when you just perform 1, 2, 3, 4, it's also a very important job that absolutely everyone does. So guys, please make sure to give a like if you find this system useful. It would make me very happy because I've been filming for hours, days, weeks for this masterclass, and God willing, everything will work out for me, and your like would be very, very appreciated and helpful. All right, make use of the system. Let's move on. So guys, the long-awaited contest. Let me send 1,000 credits, which can be used to animate or do something else in the Syntx bot, to those who come up with the most interesting idea for animating photos. Or rather, not an idea, perhaps, a certain niche. Obviously, like birthdays or something else, but maybe there are some interesting niches that I, for example, haven't thought of, or an area or some institutions or something else. I have one interesting niche. It's, of course, a little bit very strange. I just saw this trend in Chinese, TikToks, when people walk around, or maybe Japanese, I don't remember, in cemeteries. Very often on, tombstones, there's a QR code. And when people walk around, they can scan the QR code. They can see a video about this person, who they were, how they lived. If it's, for example, our grandparents usually, especially when they were young, there was no video recording. And this is where the idea of animating photographs can fit in very well. That is, take their photographs, animate them somehow or something else. Here, you could, I don't know, maybe come up with something involving ritualists, right? That is, sell them this service so they can sell it further. In general, again, it's a controversial topic, I agree, but nevertheless, it's a niche. The idea that gets the most likes under this video on YouTube and vContact. So, the winner will be determined. I will write to you that you have won, and you will need to provide your Telegram, and I will send you 1,000 credits via the Syntx bot. That's it. I think that in principle the conditions are clear, they are transparent, and most importantly, they will be useful both for me and for those who are watching, and looking for niches where this can be applied. And again, if you are watching this video, it means I'm awesome. I actually finished the job, recorded this video, edited it, uploaded it, and now you've already watched it, I don't know, for an hour, maybe 2. Honestly, at my age, 38 or 39, I still can't understand where that line is, where fate or your life tells you, I've given you so many signs that you shouldn't be doing this. Or is it, a test of our resilience when you're being tested from above? Like, dude, do you really need this? Are you really ready? And I just can't understand this line. If anyone understands this, please write in the comments how to correctly interpret all these signs. Because, well, I don't know. I mean, even if you take the same masterclass on bringing photos to life that I filmed in the winter, I also faced such difficulties there. So it's like you have to say that apparently these are just signs from above. Don't do it. But again, precisely because I uploaded it, and I did upload it even though it was made from scratch, there were issues like desynchronization or something else. I just thought I'll upload everything and that's it. But it was this video that took off. It's a big video, almost an hour long. I got about 70 to 80,000 views there. And that's not a bad figure for an hour-long video from an account with 1,000 subscribers. It was this video that pulled monetization along with it. I quickly gained those 4,000 hours that you need to get. So I got access to monetization. This video specifically attracted a large number of subscribers. My Telegram grew well there. And most importantly, I started getting peripheral sales and sales of my main products, right? That's really great. And if I hadn't pushed through back then, none of this would have happened. Sometimes you just need to break through with your head, right? No matter what. And sometimes you need to read these moments and somehow adapt. In general, I haven't figured it out by the time I'm 40, because when I was filming this masterclass, my internet went out, my router broke, and a cable got jammed. My bot froze. And somewhere, while I was filming, Syntx decided to completely update, and everything I was showing, like how to purchase a subscription and so on, became irrelevant. I had to rewrite everything. Somewhere, for example, I missed it now. Yes, I just didn't focus on it. When I was inserting prompts, for some reason Telegram also lagged, and I had to manually input all the prompts. Well, it seems like a trifle. I mean, you just took like half a page of A4 and copied it. A second. But you can't. You have to input it. And it seems like some kind of absurdity. You want to say, just shout, "Are you idiots or what?" How? Now I'm going to sit and retype it. But there's no one to be angry at. You either do it or what? I just sat there retyping a matter of seconds, which used to be resolved in seconds. But I need to push this issue through. I need to push it through. Well, in general, guys, for now, I'm sticking to the tactic that if I need something, if I've decided something in my head, I will crawl there, bite into it with my teeth, and do it. For now, this is the tactic that prevails for me. Although sometimes, of course, I want to read some signals and adapt faster, maybe change something. Usually about 15 to 20% of people watch the video to the end. Well, at least for me. If you are the person who watched this video to the end, I believe that we have overcome this long journey together. You did a great job watching it to the end. Thank you very much. I would be grateful if you subscribe to my channel. Definitely like this video. Ask a question or just write something nice in the comments. I would really appreciate it. That's all, guys. With that, I say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching until the end. This was Gary with you. Bye-bye.